Alright, I don't have much battery here, but it's end of March, and we're down at the boat club today. It is Sunday, March 25th, and there's a lot of snow at home yet up in Pennsylvania. So I was kind of worried everything would be covered with snow down here, but I kind of lucked out. There's a little bit of snow in the cockpit of Pegasus, and that's about it. There's some splotches of snow and a little water. I was afraid to be all muddy. But came down. I had to clean out the bilge in Pegasus. We'll take a little walk here. So there's Pegasus. Bilge was full. The electric bilge pump failed for some reason. The electric connection got underwater too, so that's not waterproof, so that stopped working. My halyard was wrapped around the extrusions a little bit. I had to take that apart. But otherwise, Pegasus is faring pretty well. There she is. So it's kind of a blustery day. Not super warm. It's like in the mid-40s maybe. So it's not real conducive to doing anything outside. Which a lot of what I have to do yet is outside. So we'll come over to Lissadell. I was just on board. A little bit of water underneath the engine. There were some drips of water I was trying to figure out. It doesn't look like something was leaking necessarily, but it must have been condensation that got on some bolts and then dripped down, which seems to be the problem. There's a lot of stainless steel, and if it gets moist, it drips everywhere. So there's not much water in it, just like literally like a little half-inch spot underneath the backside of the motor. So all I did was open her up. There you can see Lissadell, the 1987 O'Day 302 that I just acquired right after Thanksgiving. So stands look good. The problem a couple weeks ago is the boat was sinking literally back because these stands, I mean, they're supported. I think I put that piece of wood in, but literally the front two stands were not even on the boat, and you can see the rudder kind of stuck in the mud. I think there's like a root or something in it because I tried digging it out and I couldn't get very far. So what I'm hoping is, I don't think there's much pressure on there. There's some pressure. The boat's kind of sitting on that. So hopefully in 2 weeks, so the week after April, I kind of loosely scheduled to come down in the middle of that week and move, if not definitely reposition, but maybe even move to another part of the yard. Hopefully I can get closer to Pegasus, that way I'm not running back and forth across the yard. But definitely need to reposition this boat, get it off the rudder for sure. So you can see top sides is in pretty rough shape in terms of cleanliness anyway, and all this running rigging needs cleaned. There's a double block up behind that hatch that I bought a replacement for. That one over there, the one side of that's all cut up, and then this one here is pretty well beat up too. I'm gonna have to find a replacement for that. So all the lines are here. They're just a mess, and you know, I'm gonna have to. I did a loose inspection on the rig, but need to check the through hull or through deck joints and everything. They look okay from quick inspections. I have to do more of a thorough inspection. And I gotta get used to crawling around this boat because the angles, there's some odd angles going on here I'm not used to. I bought replacements for these solar fans. That'll be going in. So basically, if I move the boat the week after April or the week after Easter, then I'll be able to get busy that following weekend. I have off. So hopefully I'll be able to come down late on a Friday night, spend the night, get up early, and get to the getting. I know there's some club events that weekend, and they want to do moorings on that weekend, so I'll probably end up working more for the club than I am for the boat, but we'll see. So here's the inside. I got the portholes open. I got the hatch up here open. I had this hatch open, but it fell down, I guess with the wind. Trying to air this out. It's really musty down here, and musty, moldy stink. We did back in December, we wiped down most of the wood in this part, and I vacuumed this little section here to prove that I could clean up these stains. And then I don't know how much you can see back here. It's pretty dark. You can see all the staining on the carpet, and I did the part right around the port light there, so you can see how much cleaner it is. So that's one of the things I brought today is the steam cleaner. I'm going to try and hit some of this again today. But basically today's job was to come down, check on Pegasus. I spent an hour cleaning out the bilge. Like I said, I wasn't really planning on doing that. So I'm kind of an hour behind. I only got like 2 or 3 hours to go, so I'm not going to get into anything heavy duty. But all this was wet. You can kind of see the water droplets around. And I'm trying to figure out, like, is it condensating on this stuff and dripping? Or what's happening? I got these moisture things to try and collect the moisture, but the only hatch I can leave open is that little port light, and it's covered up by 2 tarps outside here, so it's not much air moving. And like I said, these solar fans don't work, and part of the problem is they're not bedded either. You can see where water's getting up through there. You know what I mean? They're just kind of sitting in there. So I gotta get that squared away here soon too. And yeah. So for now, I just spent about a half hour on the boat here looking, and kind of hard to see. See if I can put some light on the subject here. So this is the back quarter cabin, and you can see there's some moisture running in a stream, and it kind of ends up down there behind the transmission. Here's the motor. Looks okay. Definitely some rust there. There's a rust on that pulley up there. The air filter here, I guess that's what that is rusty. And this heat exchanger, or whatever this thing is, definitely looks pretty rusty. Probably is going to need replaced at some point. I don't know. I'll probably get the motor fired up first, check it out, and then maybe do that later on. But that was one of the things I wanted to do, was come down here and get decent video of the motor, so I can kind of gauge. I got a belt pulley kit with a new impeller and all that stuff. You can kind of see an old kit here, so I should have a bunch of spares, but I'm thinking a lot of these hoses and stuff I'm probably going to have to replace. Although these hoses back here don't look too bad, but I'm going to have to take, I guess, that panel off back there, and maybe one of the panels off in the head, and I need to take the rudder post covering off, and I need to take this whole piece down because that wood part there is rotted. I take all that down, inspect the steering, and you know, that's all part of the program here. Ugh. Nothing in here is like rotted out or anything except that piece back there. So all this can be just cleaned up. I might need to rebuild the head. Tim, the owner, said there was an issue with the head that he couldn't remember what the problem was. But I just need to get into all these nooks and crannies and clean them, number one, and then inspect what's behind them. With all these backing panels here for the winches, and whatever's up here, I'm going to take all these cushions home, wash the fabric. They're dry. The ones in the back I took home because they were filthy and they were wet. So I washed them, dried out the foam in the garage. They should all be good. Everything up here is good, just needs a wipe down, and the carpet needs cleaned. You know, and then I'll get the electric going, see if all these lights work, get the batteries down here, all that kind of stuff. But you can see winches, flashlights, all that kind of stuff is in here. A lot of this stuff, you know, that stuff's boat stuff, that'll stay, but like all this stuff I'm going to take home or throw out and start over with good fresh stuff. I mean, this stuff's okay, but we'll see. Clean it up, see what it looks like. The water tank's under here. I don't know if I have good access to the fuel tank. We got flares, we got all kinds of stuff in there. That's the one problem. I like Pegasus because this whole side on Pegasus on both sides is storage. That's enclosed. It can't go anywhere. Here I got these 3 little cubbies, and then everything else is open. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I can use that as like a bookshelf or whatever. But we got just a couple drawers here, hanging locker here, which is pretty freaking small, but enough that I can keep a little bit of stuff here on the boat and not have to worry about it. So yeah, that's the big thing for the next couple weekends is I gotta just take everything off. I gotta wipe everything down, bleach it, whatever, get all the mold, mildew out of here. The bilge is fairly clean. The bilge up here, as opposed to Pegasus, this is a deck step mast, and water doesn't come cruising down through the mast like it does on Pegasus. So I don't have to worry about that. I do want to get the little bit of water out from underneath here. And like I said, I'm going to do a little vacuuming with the steam cleaner here. But in the next couple weeks, the main thing is get everything off of here, get everything cleaned out, everything wiped off, get all these panels off, check everything. You know, like I said, there's got to be some kind of access to something back here. I don't know if you can get to the gas tank from this locker. Settee, lazarette, whatever that is, because I really don't see that I have access to it from back here unless I take that big panel off. So yeah, I just got to get everything cleaned up on the inside, get all the panels off, wipe everything down, check the rudder. It's the main thing. And this, like I said, is after I get it repositioned or moved anyway, so the rudder's free to move. Check everything back there, check the steering. And then I do have an autopilot, but that can wait until I get it in the water. So yeah, I need to check the keel bolts, which I'm pretty sure are fine, and then get the motor running. Like I said, I ordered a rebuild kit or whatever, and then I'm gonna try and I don't think you can see a whole lot back here, but check. There's 3 through holes there, and there's 3 other through holes around that I need to check. And then I do have, like I said, I got solar panels, I got a solar charge controller, I got a new battery charger to install here for over there. Again, all that can happen once the boat's in the water and it's been sea trialed. So for now, it's just going to be a cleanup operation for the most part. And you know, I got to check the propane out. I got to do all that stuff. But again, that's all secondary. It's rig. Oh yeah, main halyard. See, kind of squirrely there, halfway up. So the main halyard shot. Lazy jacks look like they're in good shape. Spreader boots look okay. The mast attachments look okay from down here. So it's just going to be the main halyard. I'll get Dobbs and Suzanne to work on that here soon. And so rig up, motor running, steering in good order, and through hauls. Keep the fucking water out of the boat from the underside. Like I said, I got to figure out if these drips here they're not a leak. Obviously, there's nothing leaking from here. None of this is wet. I was feeling around. None of this is wet, so it's got to be coming off of the stainless fittings here. There's a little bit of moisture here. You can see it. here. See all these drips? I don't think they're coming from the top. I think they're coming from inside and collecting there. So I'll go around and this is for the track outside. And again, I don't think it's leaking from the outside, although I guess it's possible that it is, but there may have been, this was covered with a tarp prior to me getting down here, so I don't think it's coming from the outside, although there's no moisture on these over here. So I think the moisture's coming from over here. You can see it down here. There's a little bit of moisture down there, and there was drips on the floor here. So something's happening on this side of the boat. So whether it's because there's moisture here and the door's open and it's coming out this way and it's condensating, or there's something leaking over here. Again, a little leak from the top side's not going to kill anything. It's just a pain in the ass. So that's my 15 minutes of what's happening. I just recorded a podcast on the way down here. So go over to the Shooting Debris Sailing Podcast over at theescapepods.com and check us out. I basically laid out my financials for this boat, getting it for basically free, and what I'm anticipating on spending, what I have spent so far, kind of in line with what Teddy J is doing over at the Sail Loot podcast, although his boat is much bigger and much better than this. But I think this is going to be a good little boat for a long time, so it just needs a good paying attention to after sitting for 5 or 6 years. So that's it from here. Sailing vessel Lissadell at Hanson's Point Yacht Club in Northeast Maryland on the Chesapeake Bay. We'll catch you on the flip side. Sail on.